The word economy can sound pretty intimidating, right? But what if I told you it all boils down to a simple choice you probably make all the time? In this explainer, we're going to peel back all the complicated layers and look at the simple, powerful gears that make the entire economic machine tick. Come on, we've all been there. You're standing there, you've got 60 bucks in your pocket, but you know you can't have everything you want. This simple choice, this exact dilemma, is literally the starting point for all of economics. It's this basic problem we all face, pretty much every single day. And that fundamental problem? It actually has a name: scarcity. It's just the simple, unchangeable fact that we have limited stuff: money, time, resources. But our wants? Oh, they're practically infinite. Nobody, not you, not me, not the biggest companies or governments in the world, can have everything. And figuring out how to manage that gap, well, that's the whole game of economics. So because of scarcity, every choice we make comes with a kind of hidden price tag. It's called opportunity cost. And it's not about the dollars and cents you spend, it's about the value of the thing you didn't choose. So when you buy that video game, the opportunity cost isn't just the 60 bucks. It's those brand new shoes you had to leave behind. Every single decision is a trade-off. So here's our game plan. We'll start with that problem of scarcity, then see how whole societies answer three core questions. We'll explore the different rules of the game, then dive into the engine of supply and demand, and finally, we'll zoom out to look at the bigger economic picture. So, we've already figured out that scarcity forces us as individuals to make choices. But what happens when you scale that problem up to millions or even billions of people? That's where we're headed next. Okay, so if scarcity is the problem for everyone, everywhere, how do we solve it on a huge scale? Every society in history, from ancient tribes to modern superpowers, has had to come up with some kind of system for making these massive collective choices. So what is an economy, anyway? At its heart, it's a system for making and handing out goods and services. I think a better way to picture it is like a giant interactive puzzle. Every person, every business, every government decision is a unique piece, and the challenge is figuring out how they all fit together to create the big picture. And to make that puzzle work, every single society has to answer these three basic questions. First, what are we going to make? More cars or more hospitals? More video games or more food? Second, how are we going to make it all, with robots in giant factories or by hand in small shops? And third, the big one, who gets all the stuff we just made? Does everybody get an equal slice, or do people who work more get more? Now, the way a society chooses to answer those three questions, well, that defines its economic system. It's basically the official rulebook for the entire economic game. And as it turns out, there are some very different ways to play. On one extreme, you've got the command economy. In this system, the government is in charge of pretty much everything. It makes all the big decisions. The upside? It can move resources around super fast if it needs to. The big downside, though, is a serious lack of individual freedom and choice. Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the market economy. This is all driven by private individuals and businesses. The big advantages here are innovation and efficiency, but it can also lead to some pretty major gaps between the rich and the poor. But in the real world, things are almost never that black and white. Just about every country today, including places like the US and Canada, operates as a mixed economy. It's a practical blend, right? It combines the freedom and innovation of the market with some government oversight for things like social services or safety rules. The real goal is to find that sweet spot, that tricky balance between being efficient and making sure people are taken care of. Okay, so within these market and mixed economies, what actually makes prices go up or down? What decides how much of something even gets made? Well, it all comes down to these two powerful, invisible forces: supply and demand. Let's start with supply. This is all about the producers, the people making and selling the stuff. The rule here is actually pretty simple. The higher the price you can get for something, the more of it you're going to want to make. I mean, it makes sense, right? If the price of coffee suddenly skyrockets, you can bet a lot more people are going to start growing coffee beans. It's all about that incentive. And now let's flip it around and look at demand. This is us, the consumers. And our logic is the total opposite. When the price of something goes down, we want to buy more of it. Just think about a big sale like Black Friday. Those low prices create a huge rush of demand. So what happens when these two forces, pulling in opposite directions, finally meet? You get something called equilibrium. This is the magic price point, that sweet spot, where the amount that producers want to sell perfectly matches the amount that we consumers want to buy. The market, all by itself, kind of naturally finds this balancing point where everybody's pretty happy. All right, so we've gone from your own personal choices all the way up to these powerful market forces. Now let's zoom out one last time and look at the big, sweeping trends that affect the entire economy. Economies don't just grow in a nice, neat, straight line. They actually move in waves. We call this the business cycle. It's really like a natural economic roller coaster. You've got the climb of an expansion, you hit a peak, then there's the drop of a recession, and finally you hit a low point, the trough, before the recovery starts and the climb begins all over again. And here's the key thing to remember. While recessions are tough, this up and down cycle is actually a normal part of how modern economies work. I love this quote because it so perfectly captures a concept we've all felt: inflation. Put simply, inflation just means your money buys less than it used to. It's when the overall price of pretty much everything keeps going up. That $10 bill in your wallet, it just doesn't stretch as far as it did a few years ago. And finally, in our world today, no economy is an island. We call this globalization, this incredible interconnection of countries through trade, technology, and just plain communication. It means the phone in your hand probably has parts from a dozen different countries, and you can buy stuff from the other side of the planet with a single click. It also means that a problem in one country's economy can send ripples all across the globe. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started, with a simple choice. We began by asking whether to buy shoes or a video game, but now we can ask a much, much bigger question. In this massive, globally connected system, how does your little choice, what you buy, where it came from, how you pay for it, how does that one small piece fit into the giant worldwide economic puzzle?